Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the John Gaunt Show. Coming live from my daughter's kitchen again. I'm still down dog sitting, but let's get to the point. Nigel Farage is definitely back, and my God, has he got Keir Starmer terrified. I didn't think he'd do it this quickly, but he has, and I think there's every opportunity for him to become the next Prime Minister in 4 years' time. It might take less than that. Let's put it this way. If there was a decent opposition at the moment and not Kemi and the useless, corrupt Conservatives with their 14-year sick legacy, Starmer would already be toast. If there was somebody else within the Labour Party who had charisma or personality, then he would be toast. But there's no one to replace him. Angela Rayner, give over. Rachel Thieves, I don't think so. And she's up to her neck in it with the vocal cord story as well. The vocal coaching story with Starmer. So can Starmer recover? Can Farage really seize power? And I didn't think this was going to be possible. You lot were telling me, yes, it could be. I think I was wrong. And you were correct. I think the next Prime Minister, if he plays his cards right, will be Nigel Farage. There'll be no deal with the Conservatives because they've finished. In fact, that would be the worst thing he could do. I just think he's going to be in power. And why? Well, I'll go through it with you today. If you want to comment, feel free. Just get in there. The Baron Flights, he's the first one today. Good afternoon. Have you noticed something lately? I have observed here in here their Union flags are flying. Is it just me, or has anyone else noticed this? There's something in the air. I don't know what you're on about, mate. I think the flags have been up recently. Well, I don't know why they're up, but yeah, well, somebody else might comment, but that's a bit of a distraction. Let's focus on Nigel Farage and the fact that Starmer is terrified. Why do I say he's terrified? Well, look at the way he and his MPs behaved yesterday. When Farage got up to speak, they were barracking him. They were shouting abuse. He wasn't allowed to get his question out. Now, Farage made the fatal mistake. He then started to grandstand. And this is what I'm saying about Nigel. These are part of his flaws. He should have just asked the question and got on with it. Because what he allowed was that the speaker then could put him down as well. And we know the speaker's biased. It's not just the speaker, Nigel. You are not only just taking on the Conservative Party and the Labour government, you're taking on the whole of the media establishment. The mainstream media hates you. They only have you on the telly just to wind people up because you're good box office. Now, your box office ability, your charisma, your ability to communicate with the man and the woman in the street is the thing that all the vocal teaching in the world on Christmas Eve cannot teach. You've either got it or you haven't got it. Well, you've clearly got it, Nigel, right? So don't overplay it, because Starmer would give his right hand or right arm, no doubt he'll be doing that soon when we've got Sharia law, to have what you've got, the ability to communicate. But there's a fine line between doing that and becoming irritating. I just hope Nigel Farage keeps some of his powder dry, because I really believe he could be the next Prime Minister. If you think I'm talking nonsense, feel free to comment in the comment section. You can comment now while we're live. If you're watching later, that's fine. You can still comment, get on Facebook or get on Twitter. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, you can do the same again. Wherever you want to comment on everything now, just get on there and let's have this debate. This debate is absolutely crucial. So Starmer clearly demonstrated he's frightened of Farage. That's why he talks about him being a populist, as if being a populist is something terrible, as if that's something like having, poo on the bottom of your shoe. Well, I'd much rather be a populist with charisma than a no-mark with zero charisma and the most unpopular Prime Minister in living memory, Sir Keir Starmer. That's the difference. Farage will take people with him. You couldn't, you can't, and you won't. And that's the fundamental difference. Now, I thought Starmer, with that majority, he'd be fine. But he's made so many mistakes, and he continues to make mistakes because he hasn't got the common touch. And because he hasn't got that common touch of the populism, this is why he will fail. Let's go through where he's messed up so far. Well, clearly there was Southport when he decided to tar everybody as a far-right extremist. These people were grieving. These people were in pain. These people were very, very angry. And people went to prison when he knew it was terrorism. I mean, there's another report out today slagging off Prevent, saying, why wasn't this stopped? There's a rumor, and I don't know if it's true yet, by the time this video's on air, well, now, we may well know that he's gone to see the relatives in Southport today. That'll go down like a pork pie at a bar mitzvah. These people don't want to see him. They feel let down by the establishment, and he represents the establishment. Now, there's the weird thing. In lots of ways, Nigel Farage is more establishment than Starmer. But he can communicate. People listen to him. And he knows what to say at the right times. And about Southport, he was completely correct. When he said, look, we're not being told. Why aren't we being told? What are they hiding? Well, it turns out they were hiding the fact this guy was also manufacturing ricin. He was also in possession of an Al-Qaeda train book. He had been to school 10 times with a knife. He'd been told, informed on to prevent. They did nothing because he didn't have a religious or a political ideology. Didn't stop him slaughtering young kids. And the book stops with Starmer. I know some of this would have happened when the Conservatives were in power, but you can't say, well, the Conservatives are dreadful, we're much better, but actually we're making the same mistakes. And he betrayed the people. Starmer basically sided, in my opinion, with the terrorist murdering scum, right? And I think he is a terrorist. I don't care what anybody else says. Axel is a terrorist. End of story, right? He did that because they were young girls enjoying Taylor Swift. That's why he did it, just like the nutcases who stopped the concerts in Vienna. He's a terrorist. But Starmer sided with him and said, basically, we couldn't be trusted with the information because we're all far-right extremists. Well, you'll see what far-right extremists can do very soon, because I don't even think it'll take 4 years. I don't see how this man can cling to power. That's to say, if there was somebody else in the Labour Party who could replace him, the stories that they're plotting already, but they're all as bad as each other. So that's that one. He messed up completely on that. Ash says, you'd think the barrister would be able to give us more of a show. He's got to be the worst barrister I've ever seen. No way he ever won a case he represented. Well, I think he did, actually. Although he didn't do Jimmy Savile. That didn't come across his desk. Don't dare mention Jimmy bloody Savile. The Baron Flights, it's a foregone conclusion that Nigel will win. But what will Labour do to stop him? I would not put anything past them. Very interesting, especially when you look at the Democrats. Yeah, so Trump today talking again about where they tried to, well, somebody tried to assassinate him 2 or 3 times. God, let's hope that doesn't come over here. But also, it's good that you bring up that point now, because the bottom line is, why are the elections being cancelled? The local elections have been cancelled, and they're mostly in areas where Reform are doing brilliantly. And Nigel Farage, when he says there's no reason for cancelling these elections, he's not totally telling the truth, in my opinion. There is a reason. If you're going to amalgamate the councils, what's the point of voting for something that won't be there in a year or so? However, there's another very important point of principle. They are now. And therefore, people are being denied their democratic right. And it's obvious why Angela Rayner, God help us if she became Prime Minister, she's doing it because she knows Keir Starmer and Labour are going to get a bloody nose. You can almost write the script now for the day after the local elections when the results come out. Reform will sweep across the country. They're going to do brilliantly in Wales. Now, again, Starmer got elected because he was the least worst option. No one voted for him. He didn't have this bright idea. Oh, Starmer, I'm into Starmerism. Because no one knows what Starmerism is. It's the political equivalent, I guess, of counting paper clips. But he got in, and he got a massive majority. And I think because of the state of politics at the moment, I mean, look how bad the Tories are. Look how terrible Labour is. Nigel will get in. They don't even need pamphlets or leaflets. So they're going to do really well in the local elections. But we asked yesterday, is Starmer a dictator? Well, today he's cancelled elections. That is surely the very definition of a banana republic dictatorship, is it not? Where he says, I'm the best person for the country. We're not going to have any elections. I know they haven't cancelled all of them, but you take my point. He's doing it because he knows he's going to get hammered by Farage, and that would only increase Farage's importance. See, and then the mainstream media would have him on the telly even more than he's on now. The left is always complaining about why is he on Question Time. Well, I'll tell you why he's on Question Time. Because he's brilliant box office. Because unlike the other idiots, he says what a lot of people are thinking. He hits the nerve, just like Donald Trump. And that's what people want. And you can look down your snooty BBC, Guardian reading, open-toed sandal, Lenter burger, eating noses, all you like. Because that's the truth. He gets to ordinary people, and he gets them. And he loves our flag, and he loves our country. And he's not ashamed. I mean, I think he looks an idiot when he wears the Union flag socks. But at least he's saying, I'm British. And, you know, let's talk about immigration. The biggest subject at the moment on most people's lips is immigration. A lot of it is the small boats. But if it wasn't for Farage, we wouldn't even be concentrating on them. I remember the reports on GB News a couple of years ago. It was him in the channel on a boat saying this is a problem and this needs addressing. And it still needs addressing today. But forget just about them who are landing at Dover. All the other immigrants. Now, Kemi has come out with some madcap idea today, which is totally unworkable again for the Tories. Whereas Farage is saying, stop, halt all immigration till we know who's in the country. Well, I agree with him on that. We need immigration. I also agree with him when he says we need well-controlled, managed immigration. I'm for that. But what I don't buy into is this idea immigrants built Britain. They didn't. That's just a falsehood. And diversity is our strength. It's a falsehood. Diversity is good, but it's not our strength. Our strength is our inbred resilience and fighting spirit that wasn't willing to put our hands up when Adolf Hitler tried to invade. Have you never watched the opening credits of Dad's Army? I'm only half joking, but you follow where I'm coming from. And the people who have come and settled here and made their lives a success here, wherever they've come from, they've adopted those British attitudes. And they're the people we want. We don't want people who want to come here and turn areas of Birmingham into shitholes that resemble... I always remember when I went to the Taj Mahal in India. What a fantastic thing. But to get there, it takes forever. I was going from Delhi. And when you get to the town that the Taj Mahal is in, or on the outskirts of, it's the biggest shithole you've ever seen. It's like Afghanistan. It's, you know, you see on the news, right? I don't know why it's like that. So I went to other parts of India where it was fantastic. But it is an absolute dump. And then you turn this corner, go through these gates, and there's this amazing Taj Mahal, right? Well, we want people who want to come here to our country now, be part of our country, be a British citizen, of course, yes, but want to subscribe to our values. We don't want them chucking mattresses in the front garden, barbecuing a lamb in the front garden on the wall in Erdington, in Birmingham. We don't want that. It's all nice. It's all diversity. You go and fucking do it in your country, but don't do it here. We don't want that. We don't want women treated like second-class citizens. We don't want the Quran more protected than the Bible. All religions should be open to ridicule because they're all a bit daft, aren't they? All of them, including the Christian religion. So, but Farage is the only one who's willing to talk about it. But people are talking about these things all the time. Where am I? Let me just take some more views from you. The MSM has been in bed with the revolving door of Labour and Conservatives for decades, John. Well, reform offer us, the electorate, the best opportunity in a generation to fix Great Britain. Bring it on. I think that's true. I think that's true. And I think that's what's going to happen. That's going to be the revolt. Ezra says, John, this is on YouTube, what's your views on Wes Streeting? I think he's all fur coat and no knickers. I think it's all sizzle. Careful, John. Where's the sausage, right? He's a very good presenter and he presents himself very well. But he couldn't be the leader, could he? He couldn't be the prime minister. I think he's only just started to shave. Angela Rayner's got a better beard. Oh, sorry, that's a sexist joke. I shouldn't say. Oh, terrible. David Edwards. Oh, shut up, you moron. He goes, Leeds. I laugh out loud. Sorry, John. Well, Leeds obviously deserved to win last night, my friend. I'm very sporting. I haven't got a problem with Leeds United beating Coventry. They were far the superior team. But do you know what? It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the future of our country. And you want to take up space on my programme doing something like that? Huh? Go off and speak to that idiot Mike Graham. Carl Eves, John, I hate Labour with every fibre in my body. Their Tories are no better. I will never forgive and never forget how they betrayed us over the past 14 years. It's a perfect storm for Farage to win. Thank you, Carl, on YouTube. That's exactly where I'm coming from. So on immigration, where's Starmer? Nowhere. Where's both parties been over the last 14 years? They've all promised us to cut immigration. It's just gone up and up and up and up, and it's unsustainable, both legal and illegal. Somebody's got to get a grip. I don't see any mainstream politician with the balls to do that. Yeah, where's the Maggie Thatcher of this generation? Then knife crime. Let's talk about that. I just talked about Southport, but knife crime in general. Another young lad slaughtered a couple of days ago. We can't talk about the case. You probably know why. But again, there's too much of this going on. And then Sadiq Khan, right, who's probably going to end up being the next leader of the Labour Party, the way they're going. What's he done? He's turned London into Stab City. My daughter's down there working today and she'll be there tonight. She's going out tonight. I am quite worried about her. I love London. It's a fantastic city. He's turned it into a third world SH1T hole. I don't want him anywhere near government. I didn't want him anywhere near local government. But they've denied our elections. Why have they done that? If this isn't a dictatorship, what on earth is that about? And it's about Starmer bricking himself. If you disagree, I want to hear from you. If you agree, I want to hear from you. Get your comments in the side, please. I'm only doing half an hour tonight, so or this afternoon. So please, I heard my voice is going a bit funny. It's always been funny, Gaunty. Yeah, all right. But please get in touch. I want your comments. Better to have them in the live show because then I can expand on my theories. So knife crime is out of control. It's dead simple to solve. Again, they're pushing today all knives. They've taken on Idris Elba's ridiculous idea. Let's blunt the end of all knives. Right. So when people die, when they're stabbed, I understand that. But what about when they're slashed? You can't have a completely blunt knife. The answer isn't the knife, you clowns, just like it's not the violent videos. They can all contribute to it. The answer is no respect. I saw a program yesterday where I think it was GB News where they were talking about kids having no respect for teachers. We've got to bring back respect. I'll tell you what I'd bring back, and you know what I'm going to say now. The cane. Never did me any harm, goes the cliche. But kids need to be a little bit intimidated by their teachers. They certainly don't need to know their first name terms. And teachers need to wear a suit and be smart, not mohair jumpers looking like second-rate punk rockers. I'm right. You know I'm right. But no one in the mainstream's allowed to say this. I see my old mate, well, he wasn't really a mate, but Alan Brazil's dropped himself in it today. He's talked about women's football and just said what he thinks, that it'll never be that successful. They're trying to cancel him now. I don't agree with his opinion. I don't think it'll ever be as big as men's football, but I just sort of think, I'm not interested. But he's made an issue. He'll be cancelled. That's something else that needs to be approached. See, with the Southport cover-up, that was an attack on free speech. Now, this lousy government want to regulate the internet. They want to take on Elon Musk. Oh, good luck with that then. They've been trying to take on Amazon about the knives because, of course, Southport would not have happened. If Amazon didn't sell knives, it wouldn't have happened. Goldie-looking chain, yeah? It's people that kill people, not guns, you plonkers. And that, I saw her last night, Yvette Cooper. She's an absolute useless piece of you-know-what. But it looks like it's getting to her. There's a dreadful video. She looks terrible. She looks racked with guilt and pain because she's simply, not because she's a woman, she's simply not up to the job. Same with our Chancellor, Rachel Thieves. Bank of England have dropped the interest rates today, but have also revised the economic forecast. I'll give you it in shorthand. We're deeply in the brown stuff without a paddle. They lied to get in power. How did they get away with it? Well, they got away with it because there was no opposition, which is like what they're doing now. They're getting away with it. There's no opposition. Nigel, we need you now. Now. How do we get him in power? This vocal coach scandal is huge as well. I don't think it's gone away because now you've got to say, well, why was Rachel Reeves at this meeting? And why can't Sir Keir Starmer? He was the head of, what's it called? The Crown Prosecution Service. Do they ever prosecute anyone? He was in charge of that. Well, and he stood up in court. He knows how to speak, doesn't he? No. Oh. And he's going that. It's like the bloke. That's what he probably was when he was younger in the Tune advert. You know, he goes to the tube station to get a ticket. Right? But sort it out. So he's had a vocal coach who used to be married, like I said to you yesterday, to the bloke in the Confessions film. You couldn't make this up. And they were desperate to see each other. It was so essential on Christmas Eve. It was the biggest decision in the world politics. But she'd been doing her vocal lessons over the video on Zoom. So why couldn't she just Zoom to Keir? No. She had to come and see the Supreme Leader in his office, not at his house. I wonder why. So she came to his house. It's pathetic. And we're meant to believe it. But he shouldn't be in politics. There's all these stories coming out now that he doesn't really like politics. He doesn't like the skullduggery and all the rest of it. Well, sort of that goes with the job, love. Didn't you see that? Don't you see that before you got where you got to? And so I'm not going to feel sorry for you. I hope you fail miserably. And I think that's why you're frightened. I think you're bricking yourself, Sir Keir. Because every time you do something, Farage trumps you. Because he's more on the ball, he's more in touch. Not only that, Farage understands, or he's got young lads around him and lasses who understand social media. So when Nigel makes a video, it has an impact. When you make one, it is like Kim Jong-un, or it's like Stalin's big old Russian posters. I used to have a load of them when I was at university. This revolution will never be defeated and stuff like that. Well, everyone knows it's propaganda. Everyone knows it's rubbish. No one believes anything you say anymore, Sir Keir. And then, of course, we've got the fact that you lied in the election just to get elected. Now, we know all politicians lie or don't tell the truth. But what you did to the pensioners, 10 million of them, making them choose between meat and heat. I'm sorry, it's just inexcusable, unforgivable. And I think that will bite you at the next election, which is why you don't want any council elections, because all those elderly people will be down there voting your councils out. That'll reflect on you. They'll go, he's the most unpopular Prime Minister ever. And now the local council results are the worst ever for a sitting government. We always expect a protest vote. This is the BBC telling you this. However, boom, yeah? And he's done this even though he's got the might of the BBC, the propaganda arm, the Pravda, yeah? Broadcasting Corporation on his side, and Sly News, and indeed ITV, and all of these. I've been reading The Sun. I said, as you know, I wrote for The Sun. I loved working there. The people there were brilliant. Most of them are gone now. We've now got a position where they're sort of scared to slag him off. He's useless. He's worse than useless. He's wrecking our country. Then he betrayed the students. He's betrayed the farmers. As I said to you, interest rates are down, but now we're heading to a recession. This is what Keir Starmer's done, and his bunch of sixth formers that he's surrounded himself with, because none of them will argue with him. Oh, yes, Sir Keir. No, Sir Keir. 3 bags full, Sir Keir. Yeah? Matt, the people in power always seem to break the laws they make, yet they shut down every loophole for any of us to get ahead. Hey, John, what's it with Labour MPs? Keithy Vaz. There's one to play with. No, I didn't mean like that. And the washing machine salesman, and now Starmer and the voice coach. Well, there was also Starmer and Lord Ali in the suits. Oh, suits you, sir. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. What man buys another man's suits? I find that really odd. Or indeed then buys his wife dresses, frocks, underwear, allegedly. I don't know. These jerks are off the scale. Thank you very much indeed, Carl. Graham Fletcher on YouTube says, I'm not convinced Farage will get enough good people to stand as an MP. Well, that's hit one nail right on the head. He is now recruiting people and he is vetting them by all accounts, but he has got that problem. You're right, Graham. Where's he going to get them from? Because you know, they make a big fuss, don't they? Sorella Breverman, when her husband went and joined Reform. Well, I don't really want former Tories. And if Sorella came over or Jacob Rees-Mogg, I don't think that's what Reform should be. He should try and get as many people, like Trump is trying to do, from the political field, but not necessarily from political parties. I know RFK, who's doing the health over there in the States, was a Democrat, then he stood to be president himself. But he's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? We want people with real lived experience, people who've run businesses, people who've run big organizations. And dare I say, even some trade unionists as well, because, see, I don't see Reform as a far-right party. By the way, none of this is me saying I'm going to vote for Reform. I'm still not even 100% convinced that they're going to be the best thing for the country, but they can't be much worse than what we've got. The bloody cat at Downing Street would be better than what we've got. And as I say, when you go through that list, I was doing that last night. This is the interesting life I lead when I'm staying at my daughter's. Went to bed about 10 and listened to the football, which was depressing enough. Although we've been playing well recently, got to give it to Frankie Lampard, but we got slaughtered. It should have been 8-0, 10-0. They were obviously far better than us, Leeds United. So there you go. But so I went to bed and I was trying to get to sleep. And so I was counting people in the Labour hierarchy who could possibly do the job. I couldn't get past one. I can't think of anyone in that Labour cabinet who I'd rather be Prime Minister than Starmer. That's not because Starmer's brilliant. That's because they're all crap. But then I go over to the Tories. Who would I want there? Who would you want there? I mean, can you name any of the Tories now? This and that the one they keep putting up about immigration and stuff, Chris Phipps. He just comes over a bit like that Frank Spencer guy who was around during COVID. I can't remember his name. That's how remarkable he was. Hancock's sort of, what do you call it? Batman, so to speak, wingman. So there isn't anyone. What a state we're in. And that's why I now think, well, Farage, keep the pressure on. Put your foot firmly on Starmer's neck and keep pressing down. The stories coming out of Westminster are that Starmer hates it, hates the job, doesn't think he's very good at it. Well, congratulations. That's the first thing you've got right in 7 months, Sir Keir. You're not very good at it. You're useless. You can't present. You can't sell something. So having all the vocal lessons in the world won't help. That won't help because you fundamentally can't sell. You can't even sell the sizzle, let alone the bloody sausage. Imagine him at a croc fair, or imagine him at these places where they go, I don't want 20, I don't want 15, I want 10, and here's a bag of rubbish, and people buy it. You've been to one of those auctions. Yeah, can you imagine Keir Starmer doing that? He can't present. I told you this before. I used to train BBC presenters, and you could tell within 2 minutes if they'd make it or not. Manny, one of my oldest listeners, Manny, the limo driver. He says, afternoon, John. Blimey, we haven't done this for a while. Great to have you back, mate. You too, Manny. Tell everybody I'm back and I'm doing these shows. I'm going to move them next week to 6 o'clock, I think, or 6:30. I thought I may as well do it when the regional news is on because no one watches that, do they? So that might be a good time. Then I'll be finished. And if I'm lucky, by the time I've done all my tarting up and my social media, I'd have missed the one show as well. How bad is that show? How bad is that, right? And I watched EastEnders first time in about a week last night, trying to catch up on some of the episodes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When they realised Phil was still alive after gassing himself, but without even connecting the pipe to the exhaust, I didn't think you could do that. But anyway, maybe it's because it's Suicide Prevention Week. I don't know. When he actually moved, oh no, I thought you were dead. Anyway, I digress. But coming back to the point, there is nobody. Nigel Farage is back. He's firmly on the agenda. He deserves. I mean, he got 5 MPs elected. We know he had 4 million votes, more or about the same as the Liberal Democrats, but they got 72 MPs. Right? And they're really important, aren't they? Or he got the same, you could argue, as the Greens. That'll be the Green Party, who have just wrecked Brighton, who now are telling Brighton people, you will have your bins emptied once a month. That's going to go down well. EastEnders needs to be renamed to Middle EastEnders. So many foreigners in it now. Is there? What do you mean? I don't really understand that. But anyway, fair enough if that's your view of the world. I think there's still too many people in it shouting. It's been Cockney free for ages. Well, have you been to the East End? The East End is Cockney free, my friend. Right, anyway, that's me finished. I'm saying Farage has got Starmer on the ropes. Farage is the leader of the opposition. Kemi is useless, and my opinion is now Farage has got to push for that advantage. And we've got to just hope that Starmer just gives up. I think he might. I think he might just say, I just can't cope with this, the intrusion into my private life. Do you remember when he came to power and he said, I'm not going to have my kids in photos? And he's stuck by that largely, isn't he? But there's some big questions. The suits, the Taylor Swift tickets, the Arsenal box. What else is there? There's a whole load of stuff, isn't there, that he's done that you think, that's a bit dodgy. I don't know if it's corrupt, but it's dodgy. And then the decisions he's made, the Chagos Isles. And now today he's trying to say it's something to do with nuclear submarines. And if Kemi had come to a briefing, she'd understand. No. The only thing to understand, Starmer, is it's our bloody island. Mauritius have got nothing to do with it. Well, I understand what you're doing. You're being more liberal than thou. You're an uber liberal. You want to tell people, oh, yes, we gave Chagos back to its people. And we gave them £18 billion whilst we let our pensioners freeze to death. It's a joke. It's a complete and utter joke. And he got voted in because he was the least worst option, and he lied. He lied. Everything he said, it's gone the other way. And what's all this thing about growth? There's no growth. None of them have been in business. I mean, we need Spitting Image back, don't we? Or a satirical program that just takes the absolute PISS out of these complete clowns. But like I say, where's the opposition? Well, It's not in the Conservatives. The opposition now, and the polls prove it, because look how he's polling, even with YouGov. Reform are doing brilliantly. They are the opposition. So I think we've got to say, right, on you go, lads. Take him on. Remove him. Destroy him. We can't have 4 more years of this. We just can't. We just cannot let this continue. So I think, hopefully, he'll have the backbone, if he could find one, and resign. But like I say, they haven't got anybody to replace him. There's nobody in the Conservatives. So let's have an election. And then let's see what mayhem happens as a result of that if Reform are in power. It can't be any worse than what we got, can it? Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the show. If you have and you'd like to make a donation to keep these things going, it's www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. Remember, my name is JonGaunt. If you're listening to the audible version of this, the audio version of this, should I say, on Apple or one of the other podcasting platforms, thank you. But try and watch the video sometimes. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is John Gaunt TV. I'm going to keep doing these shows. Oh, I've got to say as well to somebody who sent me, I think he sent me 10 quid yesterday, Kevin, who's a right plonker. He said, I thought that backdrop, you know, the big house backdrop I use usually when I'm at home and I got the lights and everything. He said, I thought that was your living room. Duh. It's called the Magic of TV. This is real. This is my daughter's kitchen because I can't transport my green screen. But the rest of it, you'll see over the next few weeks, I'll put different pictures up. But maybe that's what's been putting people off. They're probably thinking, I'm not giving him a fiver. Look at the house he's living in. It's smoke and mirrors. You should be used to that after 7 months of Starmer. Anyway, so if you want to support me, that would be great. If you want to spread the word, that's the most important thing. Tell people. The audience is building. It feels great. It makes me feel great because, as you know, I was in a terrible state and my confidence is back. My mojo's here. And the only way now is forward. And to be honest with you, thank God Sir Keir Starmer is in power because it's given me so much material. Nigel Farage for Prime Minister says, Gaunty, I shall see you tomorrow, probably, if not definitely over the weekend. Until then, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Don't forget to tell them you love them. And don't forget to buy me a coffee. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye.